People? Let's see here. Make sure we're all good to go. We got people rolling in. I think so. Just double check. Yep. And we are live. What up, everybody? Welcome to Own the Chaos. My name is Brad. That guy over there is Fat Man Zoom. The stock market is crazy and chaotic, and we made it our mission to help you guys own it. Fat Man Zoom, we got a great day today in store for the people, but why don't we hit them off with the starting five?
All right, what's going on, guys? Today's starting five is Sean Ethier, Sam Cisneros, Tuan Lei, Mysterious Gal, and Anton. And I did that off memory because I was accidentally on Don Fran's stream streaming us with our thumbnail. I was confused for a second, but we're back. We're good.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, it was just a test. I didn't realize he was going to make it public, but that's cool. So yeah, Don's simulcasting on his channel. That's pretty sweet. It was just something to see if it was going to make it work. But yeah. Anyways, what's up, man?
Nothing much, brother. Just another day living the dream. Speaking of living the dream, that is the tagline for AJ Williams for his next fight. I believe it's October 23rd.
Yes.
So we're working on shirts for living the dream.
That's awesome. I'm super pumped for that. If you guys are new to the channel, we one of our buddies that we regularly hang out with on our man meals on Wednesday nights. Longtime friend of Fat Man Zoom's, he's a professional boxer, and so we were out last month or this past month. Watched him fight in Philadelphia, and he's got another one coming in the end of October. So we're super pumped about that. I can't wait, man. Gonna be good.
It'll be good. Is the internet lagging a little bit on your end? Is it just me, or is this an internet issue?
I mean, it looks like you're coming in okay.
All right, should we? Yeah, everything you just said was kind of choppy for me, but maybe that was just on my end. Okay. Yeah. So, guys, welcome to Own the Chaos live stream. We're here every Monday through Thursday, 3:30 p.m. Eastern time, covering latest headlines. We got a couple interesting headlines, and we also have earnings after hours. Today's headlines, though, Brad, one's Robinhood. There was some conversations about Robinhood and maybe something that could hit them big in their payment for order flow. Certainly want to talk about that. But also we got Drive Shack news. So guys, make sure you stick around. We've got that news. And then I guess the big earnings that we're looking at today is CrowdStrike. Is there anything else on earnings?
Nothing really that stood out to me that I was actually excited about. But of course, as always, guys, if there's something that you want us to take a look at, we'll certainly do that for you. But yeah, CrowdStrike's the big one today. Otherwise, it's pretty slow earnings wise.
Yeah. How'd the account do today?
I'm doing all right. It's been weird, man. I was down like pretty far this morning. I was down around 3% on the account overall for our Chaos Crew account. And then I went green slightly, about 0.5%. And now it's back to red about 0.5%. So it's kind of been flat for the most part. And it looks as if that's what's going on in the overall markets as well. I mean, S&P is down slightly, 0.17%. The Dow's down 0.16%. NASDAQ's down 0.1%. I mean, it just hasn't really been moving a whole lot. What about you?
I mean, I've been in Zoom, so Zoom really hammered me today. Really, the question is, do I want to add a little bit onto it? Really, what level? But you know, I looked through the earnings, and I can't say, you know, like we said, it was a slow growth as far as like the rate of growth, which seemed to be the issue. But I can't say, like, looking at the numbers, that I'm disappointed in their earnings, and I really feel like they probably set the bar a little bit lower moving forward. So we'll see what happens. But I mean, Tesla obviously still doing well. But yeah, I mean, really, if outside of Zoom, if you take Zoom out, I would have been green on the day. Obviously, you don't want to play that game, but you know, not a bad day. Beat the market today, but you know, we'll see what happens the rest of the week.
Yeah, I mean, Zoom's down 16%, over 16% right now. I will say though, Fat Man Zoom, at least for today, it looks like it's found a pretty solid bottom at this 290 area. It briefly touched down to 288, but it's really been holding above 290 for pretty much all day. I happened to make a tweet out today that I thought that this 290 looked to be the bottom, 290, 291. So, I mean, if you're toying around with the idea of maybe adding two, I think that it certainly makes sense to maybe do it here, but maybe just kind of also wait to see what happens tomorrow. But yeah, man, like the thing about Zoom is that I think there was a lot of investors, I don't know, that maybe were looking at year over year and I think expecting the same type of growth that we saw last year. And that just wasn't sustainable. And we knew that. But logically, everybody knows that. But the fact of the matter is that they're still growing. I mean, a milestone revenue quarter of $1 billion. They knocked the earnings per share out of the park. I mean, they crushed it. Another record quarter as far as that's concerned. So they're still growing and taking up market share at a pretty fast clip. It's not going to be like it was last year, and it probably never will be. But the fact of the matter is that they're still growing, and they're still growing pretty fast.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, hopefully this 290 holds. I'm going to wait at least another day just to see what tomorrow brings. To be honest, I'm not sure, like if the overall market does poorly, I worry about this getting, down 275, maybe even lower. I think there's a world where, if the overall market goes bad, this could even go down to 250, which would be really crazy, but doesn't make me want to change, my position in it. I don't know if it's so much, I think there was an expectation like, yeah, we know that we weren't going to see 150% growth in it, but with a 35% anticipated growth, I think the worry is that it's going to continue to decline. However, I think that this is actually where Zoom settles out. I see Zoom's growth rate being in that 35 to 40% range when things are going really well. So if it could stay there, I think moving forward, I think we're actually going to be in good shape as far as Zoom's concerned.
Yeah, I agree. This is something that I think the story obviously isn't over, and this is just another bump in the road. And if you're a longer term investor, at least in my opinion, I would probably view this as something that would be a good opportunity if you can withstand some of the turbulence here, because I think that Zoom, I don't know, I just think that it sees 400 sooner rather than later. But I agree with you on all those points.
Yeah, and speaking of hitting a bump in the road, Robinhood certainly hit a bump in the road. News came out that this market didn't respond too well, obviously. So the SEC chair in an interview had mentioned that banning payment for order flow would potentially be on the table. So if you guys don't know, as far as Robinhood are offering zero commission trades is because they get paid for order flow. And so their main revenue stream, their cash cow is this model. And the SEC chair essentially saying, hey, we are considering basically banning this because it's a conflict of interest, caused the stock to tank. Now, my question for you is, one is, I think it's, safe to say Robinhood will be around, but like, I want to just talk about payment for order flow, and should they ban payment for order flow? There's too much money to ban it, but should they ban it? And is it a conflict of interest for Robinhood?
It's a really great question. I mean, we look at the chart here for Robinhood, and it's actually ended up turning positive for the day after it was down around 3%. Yesterday, it was down around 6%, and it was down as much as 10 at one point. And this payment for order flow is interesting because this is something that's been around forever. Brokerages would charge you a commission, but then they would also have payment for order flow from various market makers, Citadel being one of the bigger ones, but there's many others as well. And so I don't know. I don't think it should be banned, and it hasn't really made that much of a difference. The one thing that caused the most controversy with Robinhood in particular was that there was a lot of rumors and some evidence showing that Robinhood was essentially going to the highest bidder, which is an illegal act and it's very unethical. And so I think what may end up transpiring here is some sort of level of either regulation or more transparency, because that's just what we're not seeing at this point in time. And so with that said, I mean, I don't know if payment for order flow goes away entirely, because I think that, to your point, there's just too much money involved. I mean, you have brokerages like Charles Schwab, TD Ameritrade, all the big ones have it as well, and they had it well before they did away with commission. So I don't think they're going to go away with it at all. I think the story is going to be more or less more transparency and more regulation on that front.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's just a clear conflict of interest, and I think that there's ways you can still offer zero commission trading, and still be successful. I don't know how this has even been a thing. However, there's just such big money. I can't believe that it would change overnight, or it'll even. I think what's more likely is there's just more transparency and information regarding payment for order flow, whereas if it's like a notification or a breakdown or something, where as you sign up, you understand that they're giving your information out, it is clearly a conflict of interest. There is no doubt that it serves the people that are paying for it. And it's really, in a way, has the potential to harm their main consumer. But the people that are coming into Robinhood are typically newer traders, and I don't know how much they care about it anyway.
Yeah, I don't. And that's kind of been the general consensus. I mean, this is something that I've been talking about ever since this channel has existed. So over the last 4 years, I've kind of expressed my distaste for Robinhood in particular, and the whole payment for order flow issues that they've had. And to your point, the conflict of interest has been something that's big. But every time I've brought it up on my channel, most of the, or at least before you had gotten here, most of the responses were, that they just didn't care. And so that kind of plays into what your thoughts are. And to be honest with you, I think that that's the wrong way to think, but it also just seems as if that's just the route that we're going down. It's almost like ignorance is bliss at this point, which shouldn't be that way.
Well, you think of the other model, which is essentially Robinhood had the opportunity of just charging you for every transaction. And that was a ridiculous model as well. Like, to have to pay on both ends, and the amount you had to pay for trades was incredible. I mean, these brokerages are making hand over fist. So I think the way they were looking at it was, they're paying somehow, but it's not that fee every time you buy or sell. And, zero commissions is the way things need to be. I'm just hoping other companies can come in, and whether it's advertising, really advertising's where you can offer zero commission trades if you leverage your community. But it remains to be seen. We'll see what happens moving forward. Neither one of us are big fans of Robinhood as a stock. Yeah. However, tell you one we are big fans of, Brad, is Drive Shack.
Yes.
And Drive Shack had some great news today. Really, it's just an update. Their first Puttery location will be opening. Grand opening is on Friday at noon in Texas, Colony, Texas. So this is exciting because this is sort of the beginning of the next stage of Drive Shack. So if you guys don't know, Drive Shack is essentially Topgolf. They have these massive mega venues where you can hang out, shoot golf in bays, have competitions, private parties, games, all that good stuff. Exactly like Topgolf. Now they're creating this new experience called the Puttery, which is essentially adult mini golf indoors, and it has the bars, all this other stuff. So this is really geared towards adults, and it is adult only. And so the cool thing about this is a smaller footprint, less capital expense, quicker to be profitable as far as projections, profitability comes quicker as far as that's concerned. And the outfitting these locations comes a lot quicker. So this is the next phase. And, what I'm curious about in your mind, because we might have 5 Putteries by the end of the year, minimum easy. 3. And so do you think that the Putteries, and as they grow, is this just for Drive Shack, is this just like extra revenue and additional revenue stream, or will this eventually take over as their main model and their main driver?
I think an argument can be made that this takes over their main source of revenue. I was just looking at some of the highlights here that have scrolled up here. If you guys can't read this, I'll go ahead and read this. So the guests will be immersed into a one-of-a-kind experience as they play one of 4 tech-enabled 9-hole courses. They have a rooftop course, a lodge, library, an illusion. All will have craft cocktails that'll be available that including exclusive course-themed drinks and on-course wait staff, and they have local DJs and that sort of thing. So I think this is actually something that could become something of a more like a for businesses, or a happy hour get together type of thing. I think it could certainly grow into something much bigger than just even what we see from like the Top Golf, if you will, kind of concept. And so it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. I think it's either going to be, it has the potential to bring in more than what they currently have, or at least meet what they currently have, which either way, it's a win-win in my opinion. I really like Drive Shack here. We've talked about what they're doing here, and this is definitely an interesting concept. And I think it could be a lot of fun for people that, are just tired of the normal everyday happy hour type of deal. And I think that that's kind of the angle that I would imagine they're trying to take the approach on. We take a look at the chart, and it is actually having a halfway decent day. It's up 4%. This is still valued very, very cheap in my opinion. The share structure here is very small compared to a lot of other stocks at this price range. And so I was telling our folks this morning, Fat Man Zoom, and our level 3 crew for our chaos crew, that this is actually an inflection point here. We have the 50-day and the 200-day diverging on each other, and the price point's coming right up on that around 275. And so if it breaks up over that, technically it could make a decent breakout, but you really just want to sit into this and just kind of forget that you own it, whether it's whatever, type of risk tolerance you have. This is something that I'm just tucking away and kind of not even realizing or not really acknowledging that it's something that I own until it actually makes a move, because of the share structure being so small, it's not going to take a whole lot of buying for this to make a really strong move. And we've seen that already from this stock before. So it's better to just kind of accumulate a position here and just wait for the big pop that's more than likely going to come, rather than trying to chase this later.
Yeah, and I'm not sure about the model. I'm excited, and I think it's a great business move to try to create a new avenue. And one of my main concerns with Drive Shack, the mega venues, is really, the high capital expenditure on it. And it takes, I think it was like 7 years to basically pay off one of these mega venues, where it's maybe 3.5. I got to brush up on those numbers, but what we'll have to see is the experience seems a little bit different. Whereas Drive Shack, you kind of hang out and you're there with your friends and you chill, whatever. Putteries, you kind of go through it sounds like you go through the golf experience and then you hang out at the bar. You don't hang out at the bar. And so what I'm wondering is this going to be a place that has an ambiance good enough, food good enough that people are going to want to just hang out there? I don't know. I do think it's going to do well regardless, like you said, with corporate events, with tournaments they'll probably have. But if they can key on like a great social experience, that could make a difference. If anything, it gets brand exposure. It gets them into urban centers where they can help promote their bigger venues. Texas launches on Friday. Then we have Charlotte launching. And after that, the third location should be DC, which we got to make our way down there. And I think this is one of those things we just got to experience for ourselves and see, all right, is this an experience that we think has legs and could do well? And for those of you who are in the DMV area, the building that it's in is the old International Spa Museum.
Yeah, that's going to be really
pretty cool. I don't know if you ever heard that place.
Yeah. I haven't been there, but I've heard of it. That's going to be awesome. I mean, it'll be cool to do some boots on the ground due diligence on Drive Shack, something that we feel have a lot of conviction on. So yeah, man, I'm super pumped. It's actually kind of cool. The people that are tuning in from Don's channel is pretty neat to see. We can see some of their comments as well. Steve is in here, says cool dual stream. This is something we just did by chance. I didn't even expect that to happen, but welcome everybody. We got about 87 of you guys in here. We're just over 100. We'll see if we can get that view count up. I'm sure the closer we get to the closing bell, the more we'll see that number go up. But we got 30 likes. If you guys are liking the stream so far, we certainly would appreciate the thumbs up. And show some more support for the channel. And so Fat Man Zoom, next on the docket here is CrowdStrike. Now they have earnings after hours today, and their estimated earnings per share, I believe, are around 9 cents, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, 9 cents per share. Now this has already made like a huge move, bro. And you know, it started to make the big move before Palo Alto had their earnings last Monday, and then Palo Alto knocked it out of the park, which is a competitor of theirs. And CrowdStrike just made an absolute monster move. It's red on the day right now, down around 2.5%, but it has made some really significant moves over the last week and really 2 weeks, particularly when those Palo Alto earnings came out. Curious to see what you think may or may not happen after earnings, and does it even matter?
I'm really excited for these earnings. I think CrowdStrike is a great company. We've talked about, cybersecurity. There's such an emphasis on cybersecurity. And listen, EV is really sexy.
Yeah.
And I know everybody wants to talk about the latest, greatest EVs companies and all this other stuff. The reality is cybersecurity has to be up there as far as interest, as far as upside. I think you look at semiconductors. I think you look at cybersecurity. And when you talk about these tech growth companies, cybersecurity should be ones you're considering. Margins are incredible. It's really agnostic on what the situation is as far as stay at home, going back to work. It doesn't matter. Cybersecurity there's continue going to be an emphasis, and the administration has already talked about pouring money into cybersecurity. And so you're going to see these larger companies continue to put an emphasis on cybersecurity, and everybody has to have some level of it. So who's going to win the market share? CrowdStrike's doing a great job. I think CrowdStrike's going to continue to do well. What happens in these earnings? I don't know. It has been a decent run. When these things happen, we saw it with social media. When you have these companies reporting earnings and sort of this run-up happens based on other competitors, I get a little bit hesitant as far as what the reaction is going to be. Is the price already baked in?
Yeah, that's actually what I was thinking too, that there is that risk that you run, that the price could potentially be baked in. But I see a couple of people talking about potentially shorting this going into earnings. I don't know if I would do that though either. I mean, so I see a couple of people talking about, comparing this to the Zoom earnings, but I think this is a little bit of a different story. We have Swan said, I'm going to think about shorting CrowdStrike to buy back into this dip. I don't know if you can accurately say that that's actually going to happen. Maybe it does, and I hope for your sake that it does if you do end up shorting this, but CrowdStrike could even come in higher than what people are expecting, even though there's a chance that this is baked in. I don't know if I would be long or short on CrowdStrike right now. And I think that the safer play would be just to see what happens after earnings and see what those numbers actually are. If you try to make a play one way or the other on this thing pre-earnings, you're essentially just gambling. You might as well just go play some Russian roulette, or might as well just go play roulette. But it's just
I don't think you should play Russian roulette.
We don't need to do that. just a regular roulette wheel's fine. But yeah, I mean, I just think it's awfully risky. I'm actually kind of excited just to see how this goes one way or the other. I would be very surprised if it went the way it Zoom did, because the demand for CrowdStrike hasn't slowed down at all. And in fact, I think we're seeing it uptick even more so than what we saw during the pandemic.
Yeah, there's no concern over the demand. I think that there's certainly a possibility for a massive drop and a massive volatility for sure. Either way, you can make the argument for it. When you look at Zoom, it was a poster child of stay at home, and it's had significant challenges because they have this 470% growth last year, and all of a sudden, sort of the expectations just become ridiculous. I do think, and the question really on people's mind is like, okay, is Zoom going to slow down? Is rate of growth going to slow down? I don't anticipate CrowdStrike saying that. If anything, there's more indicators that cybersecurity is growing faster. And so I would agree with you in that sense. What happens tomorrow, yes, what happens today and how it reacts tomorrow is a coin flip, but a dip could be a buy. I just don't know if they're going to raise guidance, spend cash, buybacks, dividends. We see all this other stuff. CrowdStrike is a true growth company. Unlikely they give a special dividend. Unlikely they do. I don't see them doing buybacks. That would be great if they did. Our only hope really is a monster beat, raise guidance. That's really all we can hope for in my mind.
Yeah, I agree. This is something that I don't know if, like you said, I think they're just going to have to blow everybody's face off with these earnings and guidance for this to go higher. And who knows? I mean, you could have made the same argument with NVIDIA, on their last earnings call, and it had gone up 30% in a month, and then people were like, this thing has to come down, and that's never a guarantee. So I don't know if I would be on the short side or long on CrowdStrike just for that reason.
As a side note, I did want to bring something up that I think got overlooked in Zoom's earnings. Excuse me. Very randomly, and I don't even know exactly the context. I can't recall the context, but one of the I'll give you two interesting pieces for Zoom that could keep people optimistic. Is Zoom actually mentioned that travel was coming back quicker, and I'm not sure why they referenced that, but in Zoom's earnings, they're talking about air travel coming back quicker, and travel coming back quicker, and maybe it's in response to the remote work, which you've mentioned and whatnot. So it was kind of cool to hear them talk about that and to sort of prove that was sort of an indication of how it was going to move, which airlines did well today. The other thing was they mentioned that schools opening back up is actually a good thing for them. And it wasn't, we've talked about in the context of they weren't charging schools.
Yeah.
But beyond that, they have greater margins with schools as well, which we haven't really brought that information out. And I didn't realize either. But I didn't want to forget that because that was overlooked in all of the drop of Zoom. Very, very bullish characteristics, not to mention they had the acquisition of Five9, and they're spending money, and I expect them to spend more money. I think that there was certainly a lot to be optimistic about as well.
Wasn't there a pause on the Five9 acquisition or no?
Oh, not that I'm aware of.
I thought I saw something like that. I could be wrong. I thought that I saw that a couple areas really on social media. So obviously that can't be too relied upon. But I thought that there was some news about that being halted for some reason.
Like a similar situation as the ARM acquisition for NVIDIA.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. That's definitely something that if it is the case, that would make a lot of sense. And I don't know if that'd be a legitimate concern long term, but we've seen how long this ARM acquisition has played out.
Yeah.
I mean, it might have been, we got to be coming on a year
easy
for this ARM acquisition. Yep. And so it's crazy how these things can happen. I think that's a little bit of an anomaly, just because of the implications of the ARM acquisition. I don't think the Zoom acquisition is as big, but it remains to be seen.
Yeah. Yeah. Chris, I'm just going to call you Chris, said that there was an issue with it. So yeah, we'll have to confirm that up, but I thought I saw something going on with that as well. So that could have been a reason. I don't think it's a reason for it to drop 17% on the day, but who knows?
Yeah. And if you guys look it up, bring it up, a little bit more clarity and something about delays. Like if you guys can have some meat on that, that'd be great to know. And everybody can be informed on that.
Yeah.
But appreciate any information you guys can scoop up.
Yeah, absolutely.
What time we got?
It is the market just closed. We're about a minute after the close right now, and we're awaiting the CrowdStrike earnings. We got 133 of you guys in the house, so appreciate you all hanging out. We got 36 likes though, so let's see if we can get those likes up. If you guys are enjoying the stream so far, want to support the channel, make sure you're hitting that thumbs up. We certainly would appreciate that as we wait these CrowdStrike earnings. Right now, there isn't a whole lot of activity on it just yet. It's still early, but as soon as we get those numbers out for CrowdStrike, we'll certainly get those to you. I've pulled the chart out here to the 5 minutes so we can kind of get some real-time action on this thing. So as soon as this starts moving, we'll certainly give you the numbers as they come. Amazon, somebody mentioned Amazon. Amazon's been having a hell of a last couple of days. Let me just pop on over there real quick just to see where this is at. Oh my gosh, yeah. Amazon just popped up at the end of the day.
That's awesome.
It's up. It closed up today on up 1.5%, sitting at 34.70, bro. It's coming up on that 3,500 resistance we talked about.
I love it.
Big tech has just been roaring this week, man.
What about Google? Did Google break the 3 yet?
Let's see. I know it was close. 29.09. Closed the day at 29.09. Sitting at 29.20 right now after hours.
Oh man. I hope it. My prediction on the next $2 trillion stock. Hope it comes true.
Philip Stroh asking about why a firm got slapped in the nuts today. I don't think it's really for any other reason other than the fact that it ran 50% on Monday. It's just a little bit of a pullback. I think it's just a healthy pullback, some profit taking, nothing really too much to worry about there. It's still holding up really, really well. If you ask me, I really like where this is sitting. 96.34. I mean, you can't complain.
How much is it down? 4%.
Yeah, it was down like it closed the day down 3.25% after a 50% run the day before. I think we're good.
Stro, bro, what are you talking about, man?
Yeah.
You can't have a 45% run and then get upset with 3%. Like, you might get another red day tomorrow.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
You got to be realistic in these things.
Yep.
Got slapped in the nuts, bro. I don't want to see you if it goes down 10%. You might be on suicide watch. Jeez. Sorry, man. I got to call you when you're dramatic.
You get that sometimes. It's all good. It's all good. CrowdStrike's still just kind of chilling here, just a little erratic movement, nothing too crazy. It doesn't look the volume's in enough to constitute the numbers being out just yet. Right now, it is. It actually had a pretty decent run up towards the end of the day. Only closed the day down 1.8%, which was a pretty decent comeback. It was down as much as 3% at the end of the day. So we'll see where this goes. Not too much just yet. As soon as we get those numbers, we'll have them out to you. We got 9 cents as the estimated earnings per share for CrowdStrike. What do you think that's going to come in at?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm going to say 14 cents.
I had them at 18.
100% beat.
100% beat. I mean, the way that we saw the Palo Alto ones, I mean, obviously, just because Palo Alto did it doesn't mean that CrowdStrike's going to. But, man, cybersecurity, just being the way that it is right now, it wouldn't surprise me if we saw 100% beat out of CrowdStrike. And I think that's what's going to have to happen if this even has a shot at moving up after hours.
Yeah, 9 cents or 18 cents definitely is not out of the realm of possibility. Looks like we got something.
Yeah, CrowdStrike is moving now. It's up 2% after hours. I hope whoever was shorting this who was going to short this didn't actually short it, but it's moving up right now. Obviously it's early. We'll certainly see what happens here, but once the numbers come in, we'll certainly let you know what they are. But yeah, CrowdStrike right now moving up here after hours, and it's a little bit all over the place. This is by far our favorite cybersecurity company. Man, you want to talk about a stock that'll do well in your long-term account. I think that this is definitely one you got to at least consider putting in there.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, maybe the short is right.
Yeah, now it's moving down. Man. Okay. So now CrowdStrike is down 3.7%.
Mm.
As soon as we have those numbers in, we'll certainly give them to you. Looks like Arfin has something here. Arfin put up 11 cents. All right, let's see here. Now it's down 3.5%, sitting at 270. A little bit all over the place. All right, Arfin. So Arfin's got 11-cent beat compared to the 9-cent estimate. Sales are at 337 million, beat the revenue by 323. Fat Man Zoom, sounds like it's pretty much in line with what expectations were, which might not actually bode well for CrowdStrike.
No, especially if Palo Alto, their competitors are having, massive beats and they're just in line. That definitely does not bode well for them after their run up.
Yeah. So if you guys are wondering, why, stocks will sell off on good earnings or an earnings beat. I mean, if you look at this situation, sometimes it's one of these things where you buy the rumor and sell the news. If you've ever heard that cliche, now we have to hear from guidance as far as CrowdStrike's concerned, and that could be also a reason why we're seeing this sell off. But it's already moved up, and so sometimes when you see this moved up, and we mentioned it before the earnings came out, that it would be a buy the rumor, sell the news type of situation, that this pricing could have already been baked in based off of what we saw from Palo Alto's earnings just a week ago. So we'll see what happens. It's still early yet. There could be something in that report that pushes this back up. But right now, that seems to be why this is selling off here, is that the expectations were kind of just in line and didn't really surprise anybody to the upside. So what else is there? Why am I holding this? What's going to be the next catalyst for CrowdStrike? That sort of thing. So that could be one of the reasons why this is selling off.
What is it? Can you go back to the 5-minute? Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully this works out for the shorts. It's awesome if it stays like this for you.
Yeah.
And honestly, giving some of it back isn't that far-fetched. We talked about essentially it's a coin flip. We'll see how it plays out in general. But yeah, man.
Yeah, it's still coming down here. CrowdStrike, if you guys are just tuning in, there's 176 of you guys hanging out, so we certainly appreciate you being in the stream. Yeah, I had a feeling we were going to see a bit of a bump, but we got 60 likes. If we could get to 100 before the stream is over, that would be awesome. I think that's achievable. But CrowdStrike came in and they beat earnings, and it's just been a little bit all over the place. It was up as high as 2% after hours on the response to an earnings beat, and now it's been selling off here, and it's trying to make some sort of move, trying to claw its way back. We'll see what happens here. But according to Arfin in our chat here, he says that the full year guidance is still very much in line. So we'll see. We'll see what takes place. Right now it's sitting at 268.93 after closing the day at 281, which means it's down around 4%. We'll see what happens here. But I don't think this is necessarily as much of a similar situation as Zoom. Zoom, at least, it wasn't one of those situations where Zoom ran all the way up and then it was selling on the news type of thing, like I think CrowdStrike is. So in my opinion, I think that this is more or less going to be an opportunity if it opens the day tomorrow red.
Yeah, I mean, Zoom, the only similarities, Zoom's tech, and it had earnings yesterday.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, whoa, what's that?
I don't know.
Is that a glitch or is that legitimate?
I think it's a glitch. I mean, Weeble does this sometimes.
To think, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Their tech growth, I'll give you that. Yeah. But again, looking at the earnings, really I understand how it's really hard to separate yourself from recent earnings, but the reality is it's just confirmation bias. Like if you listen to CrowdStrike's earnings and Zoom's earnings, they are very, very different.
Yeah.
And so, and even, I mean, even how they view their metrics is very different. So like, and I would just warn people, just like be careful and like having confirmation bias and just putting things into buckets like that. If you want to compare Palo Alto and CrowdStrike, I think that's very much a fair comparison.
Yeah.
Because you're looking at competitors. But other than like the tech growth, yesterday they reported earnings. Like I'm not sure if Zoom reported a month ago, you'd be like, oh, this is what Zoom's going to do, or this is what it's going to do because of Zoom.
Yeah. Somebody asked a good question here. Let's see. Well, I just missed it. Somebody had mentioned about a potential. Just asked about what would be the entry if this continues to sell off. So if we go out to the daily chart right now and kind of look at where CrowdStrike is, if this does continue to sell off, I think the first stop for this is going to be around 272. If it opens up around there, if it stays around this 270 area, I think that you're going to be in good shape as far as that's concerned, because it looks to be a pretty solid support. It was a resistance in the past. Obviously, it made a huge move on those Palo Alto earnings and never really looked back. So there's definitely potential for this to return and test that support at around 270, kind of where it's sitting at this point. So if it doesn't go below there, I think CrowdStrike's actually in some really good shape to potentially make a turn. If it does not, then the next stop for it could be somewhere around 257, 256. Kind of where we saw it as a resistance before it had had that huge gap up last week.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll see what happens. I don't know. Like, do you know, as far as cybersecurity is concerned, like, is there any, when you look at like previous earnings or not, is there any sort of seasonality to it?
As far as like cybersecurity is concerned?
Yeah, like if you look at CrowdStrike's earnings, are there times a year where their revenue is higher than others, or has it been steadily climbing?
To my
for their
knowledge,
revenue?
to my knowledge, I think it's just been steadily climbing. I don't think there's really any real seasonality to it. It would be different, I think, if it was something like a streaming service, like a Netflix or Disney Plus or something like that. But
yeah, I didn't know if you had the earnings up. I was just curious, specifically looking at the earnings numbers in the past.
No, all I know that they've consistently beat, but that's about it.
Okay, cool. That's something to look at as well.
Yeah.
Is there certain times as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Another thing to note here too is that 257 area that I was talking about, it's also where the 50-day is. So if it doesn't hold 270, I think that I may even consider putting in a limit order at that 257 area just to see if it comes down to test that. I think it would be a great place to get a starting position if it doesn't hold this area going into tomorrow's trading.
Yeah,
might be
definitely a good one. I mean, guys, for those of you who aren't familiar with Own the Chaos, that's a lot of the foundation that we're built on, is the idea of getting good companies on discount, on value. And it's easy when something's green to hit the buy. Oftentimes that kind of could get someone in trouble. But like when there's a red day and you feel like you found something that's on discount, it's challenging, but those can be a lot of opportunity areas, which is what we call the red zone. So yeah, certainly if it ends up continuing to come down, CrowdStrike isn't going anywhere.
No, not at all. So we always talk about buying into weakness, selling into strength. If this ends up coming down, I think it's definitely one of those situations in which you do so if it's something you're interested in. Obviously, do your own due diligence and make your own decisions, but definitely looks like it could be a great opportunity for CrowdStrike.
Yeah, guys. So make sure you hit the like. Make sure you guys subscribe, notification bell, because we will be going live again tomorrow. We're live again every Monday through Thursday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern time. We're also live on Sundays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. So we'll be having more conversations about what's going on in the market, keeping an eye on the stocks that we've discussed and more. We haven't yet mentioned our daily watch list. We send out a free daily watch list. Let me repeat, free daily watch list of 5 stocks we're watching every morning before the market opens, with a breakdown fundamentally, technically, on why we're watching those stocks. If you guys are interested, click the link in the description, check it out, or you can go to onthechaos.com where you can get our free daily watch list.
Yeah, that's right. If you guys don't mind hitting that like button too on your way out the door. But real quick, we'll cover what we're going to be doing tomorrow as far as earnings are concerned. We got Chewy on the docket. We have C3 AI, which I thought a couple of people I've seen mention that wanted us to cover that. So maybe we'll cover that one as well. You have Smith & Wesson, Okta, and Asana. Asana, I think, is going to be a big one. That's one that we like a lot and has made a monster move, about 200-300% just on the year. And so that should be very interesting to see how earnings play out tomorrow. So definitely some exciting stuff. We'll, of course, bring you some more great content beforehand. But, guys, that's going to do it for us. We'll see you tomorrow at 3:30 p.m. Eastern time. Thanks for hanging out.
Bye.
Bye.